That awkward moment when one of the strongest characters in the universe is introduced in a movie full of super soldier level tier type beings. This guy, the Sentry, simply existing in the MCU is going to change the power level hierarchy forever, especially when we start seeing the MCU powerhouses start slugfesting with each other later on in the movies. You know it's inevitably going to happen. But even with his limited appearances in Thunderbolts, it's pretty clear he has some clear narrative writer intent on where his power level has to be at. Let's get into it. Marvel Cinematic Universe Sentry.
Less talking to yourself, more talking to us.
The talking to yourself?
He's Sentry Project.
Everyone who went through Sentry Project is dead, Mel.
Robert Reynolds entered the pretrial program in Malaysia.
One of the test subjects.
See, the thing about Bob, or you can call him the Sentry, you already heard it yourself. He was experimented on. He was the only survivor of these experiments, Project Sentry. That's why he's going to do a lot of cool stuff you're going to see throughout this video. But he just happens to be one of those characters that you also saw in those clips, that he is one of those characters that joined the club of mental illness, like along with characters like MCU Moon Knight, MCU Hulk. He has a multi-personality disorder, like mental illness type character. Let's be honest, the mental illness type messed up mind characters are the most interesting characters to read about and watch.
I've always had these episodes since I was a kid, and then my memory just goes blank.
Delusions of grandeur, depression. I mean, someone that imbalanced, amplified by the treatment.
I know about your mom's mental illness. I know about your addiction.
Like, imagine giving somebody with divine Superman level strength mental illness issues like the Hulk or Moon Knight, like multi-personality disorders. That's part of the reason why he has to literally fight himself in the movie. And his other half of himself ends up being kind of like a villain. His like darker side manifests into an actual threat. But in theory, it's technically all him. All those powers should technically apply for Sentry. It's technically all him. I mean, the only person that can really weaken him is his own mental state.
I'm the only one who knows what your true potential is, Robert, and it's limitless.
I doubt this movie shut off every little thing he can do, but he can do the basic stuff like he's bulletproof, he's straight up knife proof, electric proof, he can defy gravity and fly. It's clear he has full-blown telekinesis. There's plenty of examples of this. He can do his own version of Almighty Push, push people away and just slam you aside. Like, there's occasions right here where he's not necessarily touching them and we see him blast all of them back. Like, look at all this he can just throw and pull you towards him. There's a character named Ghost that can basically go straight up invisible. He still has the senses to see where she's at. Not only that, she's intangible. He still can touch her. This is the same being we literally see like walk through walls, go intangible style. Yet he can still perceive and touch her despite her intangibility. He seems to have some type of heat manipulation, melting this guy's gun. We've seen him heat up Bucky's arm here, for example. When they actually tried to kill Sentry, which of course didn't work, of course, his darker half just came out. Like, you could say this is straight up darkness manipulation, like, because he was able to like shadowify this guy. The scary thing about him is that he can manipulate a lot of darkness and it can completely keep on spreading. I'm talking about spreading through multiple city blocks and covering up multiple buildings. It was enveloping the entire New York City. Like, you can visually see it happen. See, what this is actually, it's actually a pocket dimension because these people really didn't really die. They basically just get trapped in a universe to relive their worst memories over and over again. As you can see with Yelena when she was in here. Yeah, this is crazy. His mind is so messed up that he's literally trapped in his own mind, along with the other characters being trapped by the void. We've seen plenty of times in the movie where he didn't even know he had superpowers, but he would still make people relive stuff, memories and stuff like that, just from touching them. Like what he did with Yelena here, like what he did with John Walker, seeing memories that he doesn't know why he's thinking of right at the moment. He shows some molecular manipulation or transmutation because his hair got dyed blonde after all of this movie events was over. It's like everything Sentry related, like he changed back to normal, like his hair black and everything. Like it's implied he can transmute his costume, different forms. I mean, shoot, the Void was so scary and traumatic that even by 14 months later, they decided that the safest thing is to keep Sentry or Void contained to where the Bob, you know, Bob ain't doing nothing. He don't want to let him out. I mean, before I get into his muscle, you can kind of get an idea how he has to be strong just based off of his durability alone. First of all, when you land this far, you should not make an impact like this. You should have splatted, but the fact his body did all that just from him falling lets you know how durable he is when he didn't have control of his powers and stuff yet. When it comes to his raw muscle, you know, super strength is one of his many abilities. Of course, he's a brute powerhouse on top of all his versatile abilities. You can get an idea of his muscle and how easily he tosses normal humans. Some of this isn't telekinesis, that's just raw muscle. His muscle is strong enough to bend John Walker's shield with brute muscle. His raw muscle is hilariously above super soldier level beings. Like when a soldier is one of the highest end super soldier tier beings, he ripped his arm off. Remember, super soldier level beings like Captain America, for example, can literally rip logs in half. Captain America, a high-end super soldier in this universe, was able to stop a helicopter from taking off with his raw muscle. We've seen Captain America and Bucky's muscles clash in the MCU, and there's even moments where Bucky overpowers Captain America in raw muscle, like in this particular situation with his knife. So Sentry's casually overpowering beings that can pull helicopters, like he's doing this with laughable ease. Full-blown Iron Man armors, we've seen Bucky overpower the arm of and do this to the hand part. There's legit characters, you know, when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually was kind of canon to the MCU, the beings that can move bulldozers this much, and they got their time tested, are still weaker than Captain America level beings, yo. Because he asked his time, how was his time compared to Captain America?
Did I beat Captain America's time? Not even close.
Implying Captain America and super soldier level beings can move bulldozers faster than that, but yet he's laughably weaker than Sentry. He's laughably above these strong beings. These same beings can, of course, this was a team effort working together, but yeah, all these beings working together, super soldier level beings was able to support all this weight. He did this by himself for a little while, but it was high difficulty. And they did it to get the real understanding of how strong his muscle is comparing him to the larger universe. See, at this point of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's a lot of movies in it so far, and there's a lot of characters that are powerhouses in this universe. We haven't seen Sentry fight yet, but if you're a comic reader, we know the inevitable is going to happen. We know he's a big part of his mythos is being a powerhouse in Marvel. And while it's true, we don't see him actually overpower any of these other characters other than these super soldiers, there's implications he could probably overpower certain powerhouses in the MCU if we were to see him fight. Because in the movie, they directly compare him to characters that are powerhouses in the Avengers.
Stronger than all of the Avengers rolled into one?
No, because you said I was all powerful, invincible, and stronger than a whole team of Avengers, which includes at least one god.
What Avenger do you think he was talking about when they referenced a god? So yeah, you can tell the narrative where it's going. They want him to be up there with these kind of characters, the powerhouses. And if we were to compare his muscle to Thor's muscle, even though we haven't seen them clash yet, I think it's fair to say he could more than likely lift what Thor can lift. You know, this movie did come after the events of Endgame and stuff. And you remember what you saw Endgame Thor lift. It was these massive rings that are basically at least mountainous in size. Like, yeah, look how small the ship is compared to this big structure. If we assume Sentry could do this, if he was in this same situation, that would prove Sentry can move mountainous sized things, or you could argue move millions or billions of tons. Yeah, it's just a statement, but I don't really see nothing contradicting it. And if you know comic lore, you would tend to believe their statement about him doing this. This is not like this is anything new for his character, lifting millions of tons. This is definitely believable. The writers want him to be up there with the MCU powerhouses in muscle. You know, MCU Thor. They directly mention a guy like Thor. They're talking about Thor. I mean, he's fighting super soldiers, but at the same time, he didn't want to hurt these guys in this movie.
I don't want to hurt you guys.
He's holding back his punching power, and he did this to him. I mean, if we go by his blast power, look how he blasted this junk back, and it pushed him back this hard. Like, be honest, if he didn't hold back that punch, they would have splatted. Launching super soldier tears like Bucky in the air. So honestly, if we assume he can lift mountainous sized things like MCU Thor can, what do you think his punches would feel like if he really tried? You know, he would more than likely be able to quake mountains, break them apart with his hits, you know, similar to what he can lift or press with his muscle. It shouldn't be too far off. I mean, if he can hit with the weight of a mountain falling on your face, that would be kind of like saying he can hit with the force of certain nuclear bombs, right? One of my favorite things that this movie did, it said a famous statement about his power level that pretty much proves that they're pulling stuff from the comic. Like, obviously the main continuity, Sentry, and the movie version are obviously two different beings, but the whole point of the comics and the movies is to translate as close as they can of the comics to live action. So they're literally copying and pasting and pulling a big part of Sentry's mythos is, and that's the power of 1,000,000, or in this case, 1,000 exploding suns in this movie universe. When I heard that, I got excited.
Power of 1,000 exploding suns. Power of 1,000 exploding suns.
Yeah, they said it. Power of 1,000 exploding suns. That's the thing you hear a lot in the comics. You're probably thinking, oh, this is an exaggeration. It's just a statement. I would have thought it was an exaggeration if we haven't seen narrative in this movie implying he's up there with the heavier hitters of Marvel or even higher. And not to mention, we've seen MCU characters kind of do similar stuff when it comes to reigniting stars. If you watch the Marvels, you know a big plot point of the movie was this dying star. Captain Marvel, seemingly in a matter of seconds, was able to reignite a dying star, blasting with this much energy to fix it, like you can literally see it happening on the spot. That's one sun reigniting it. Sentry in this movie is stated to be stronger than all the Avengers, including Captain Marvel. That's why his statement isn't really an exaggeration when you see characters in the past do feats like this.
Stronger than all of the Avengers rolled into one?
If the narrative wants him to have more raw power than characters like this, beings that can reignite stars, that would easily imply, even though we haven't technically seen him do it yet, if we were to take that stuff seriously based on the narrative, he's technically a planet-shattering level being based on his raw power output just from comparing them being above some of the other powerhouses in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that can reignite stars. Destroying a planet should technically be easy, especially a normal sized planet. If he's above beings that can reignite stars, he should technically be able to destroy any planet in our solar system, the smaller ones, even the super large planet, if we're to take that seriously. And technically, he should easily be able to like level stars based on his statement of having the power of 1,000 exploding suns. Yeah, I know it's just a statement and we haven't technically seen him do it yet, but this is a big part of his mythos, a big part of his character. It's like a slogan at this point. They always say it in the comics. This is not the MCU right here in this particular picture. I'm using this as a reference on what the MCU is getting this from. They usually say 1,000,000 exploding suns, but the movie said 1,000. So yeah, but even if we take the shortened statement, even though it's a slightly different from the comics, we know what they was going for. 1,000 exploding suns is still a lot of raw power. Like, think about this for a second. He can hit with the force or blast with the force of an exploding sun multiplied by 1,000, y'all. Like, theoretically speaking, if the Sentry was to just go berserk and blast with a crazy energy blast that's ridiculously wide, he would technically have the raw power to wipe out our entire solar system if he had an attack like that. I already kind of mentioned his hacks abilities, but the scary thing about the Sentry in the MCU is that he has crazy combat speed on top of all this. I mean, it's already proven his combat speed's faster than bullets. He reacted to bullets and flung them back mid-flight. He's outrageously faster than super soldiers like Bucky, who can react to bullets consistently. Like, you can't hit him. On top of this, he's outrageously faster than these super soldier tier type beings, and he's not afraid to use his travel speed in combat. Look how he dodges Bucky's hit here. Oh, just friendly reminder, all this goes for his durability too. Yeah, Winter Soldier's hits, like, he's got a vibranium arm, y'all, by the way, and he ate those attacks. You know, the same stuff Black Panther makes his suit out of? You know, that gear, them weapons that can cut anybody? You know, the same gear that's bladed that can actually cut Hulkish type beings? Sentry's just getting punched by like it ain't no big deal. Let's be honest, Sentry's probably close to dang near light speed. When Quicksilver was moving so fast, everybody was frozen. Notice how Thor was still moving pretty quickly in raw speed. So what does that say about Sentry? Sentry probably will be moving during the scene too, you know. I think with the introduction of Sentry, there's no way you don't believe the powerhouses of Marvel can shatter planets at this point. I mean, I've already kind of talked about it before this, but this just kind of reconfirms it even more. Sentry simply existing makes all the powerhouses that currently exist more impressive by default, because we know we're probably going to see them interact or fight each other or fight villains that match the powerhouses of Marvel, blah, blah, blah. It's just going to be going up from here, honestly. But the future looks bright. But before I get going, quick thanks to the donators real quick. Yeah, Sentry's crazy. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.